Well, good morning and welcome back to Coffee Talk, my friends. We have a new premium. Isn't that strange? There's a new premium in the game. That's a weird lunar challenge. So the Chinese New Year thing seems to be a tradition at this point that they put out some kind of marathon. Has it been 3 years now? It's been at least two, I think, at least two. But we now have the 122 TM. You can see it. I've got it here in Garage. Down in the comments, you will see my initial, what I called a preview, where I go over a lot of the numbers and comparisons. We're not going to do as much with this video in regards to that kind of thing. We will look a little bit at how I did, what my stats were, and a quick kind of comparison to the 274 Alpha, which I think is kind of interesting to look at. And we'll talk about initially here the marathon real quick, and then we're going to go into gameplay. So I'll have all that broken down by timestamps down in the description. But if you want the no kidding breakout by numbers, then check out the video that's called a preview on this. So a little bit different than usual. Grabbing old Chrome here, you can see that we have a lunar challenge that's going from the 12th to the 22nd. That's 10 days to knock out about 250,000 experience. If you do the grind method, if you do the super unicum method, I'm going to have to shout out to Skill on this one because he cracked me up. You know, he said, if you're thinking you're going to come home and play for 2 hours and knock this thing out, you're probably not going to. So if you look at it, 250,000 experience at an average of 1,000 experience is 250 games. Is anybody going to average 1,000 experience? Maybe some of the super unicums. And then he said, you know, you're not going to do it in 2 hours a night unless you're a super unicum pooping rainbows. He used a different word. All right. So that I don't know why that cracked me up. I think it's because of the accent, at least for the Americans. They're so fantastic. But he's absolutely right, and I agree with that. 250,000, 1,000 average, 250 battles. You're talking more like 500 battles, and that's probably 5, 6, 7 hours a day, depending on how good you are. What are you really doing? You're probably looking for a discount. Unfortunately, what's probably going to happen there is it'll be a big package. There'll be a lot of other stuff into it, which will mean it's very expensive. $80, $90 is kind of the going rate for these things. So until you knock it down to 50, 60, 70% discount, it's probably going to be fairly expensive. But somewhere around 50%, you're going to start making money, I guess, is the way you would say it. But we're going to talk about what I think of this vehicle as we go. The rest of it here is pretty standard stuff. There's more numbers, pictures of the tank, and then we come down to what the challenge requires, and we're going to go ahead and jump into the UI for that. So what you want to do is you go to missions, you go to lunar challenge, and here you are. It's locked. It starts on the 12th. That's tomorrow. Hopefully this video gets out on the 11th on the afternoon for you guys, and you will see that the start of each one, as usual, is fairly easy. 3,000 experience, or if you do the mission for mastery, remember that's for tier 9 and 10 vehicles, so thank you very much to Wargaming for changing that recently on their marathons. It used to be just 10. I think that's fantastic. It does decrease the ability to do some of the mastery missions by using a 9, because a lot of times it's lots of damage or experience or whatever the case may be, and oftentimes a 10 is better. But for the ones that are mastery or some of the other missions, maybe the 9 is better. So a little bit of gamesmanship on your part trying to figure that out. But you can see it gets harder. You either do 3,000 or you get a high caliber. You might get through 3,000 fast, but if you're good, you might knock out that high caliber on the very first one. I'm just going to go through a couple of these. You can see it increases to 5,000, and now we're talking about finish the battle as a top player on damage once. So you might actually knock that out well before you get to 5,000. And then we're just going to crank it up to, say, 6, and we get into 30,000 experience. So now you can see it starts to get harder and harder on the grind side. And, of course, the mission for masteries increase. This one is a high caliber 5 times before you get 30,000 experience, probably doable. You can see there's other goodies along the way. You've got credits, directives, personal reserves, things like that. And if you happen to get to 250,000 experience, then you get to the end and you will pick yourself up the 122 TM. The other thing I want to show you really quickly is we're going to go ahead and jump into here because we do have some camos that come along with this. I don't think I have the other special camos right now to show you. I do not. However, I will show you the special guest cam. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is, man, oh, okay, we got a big bull there. And, wow. Anyway, I will not be playing it with that camo. I mean, it is very detailed, and to some extent, it's cool. I don't know. Maybe I will play it on stream. We'll just put that silly camo on it and go crazy. But wow, I actually like this one much better. It's one of the sense of direction camos, and it is a pretty cool looking tank. So let's just jump into, again, a quick overview of it. This is a tank based off a captured T-22. What I did learn from the last video is this is not a 122, despite the 122 TM. It is apparently a 120 caliber, 120 millimeter, I guess, U.S. gun, or copy of a U.S. gun. What that means is it's very accurate. This is an interesting tank, folks. Remember, this is a highly armored, especially in the turret, decent on the hull, slow, hard-hitting, very accurate tank with terrible DPM. That's the bottom line. Think of it as a lot like the various turreted TDs. Okay, so you have the mobility, you have the turret, but it's hard to kind of use those things because the mobility is bad. So, I'm sorry, you have the flexibility of the turret and not a lot of mobility. And that's a bummer. Think of, say, trying to work with a T-28 prototype and make that act as a heavy. You know, it's kind of got that armor, it's kind of got that heavy feel, it's got a turret, so it's more flexible, but there's other things against it. Its mobility is garbage, its turret is very slow and turning. That's kind of what you got going on here with a medium. It's an interesting balancing decision that they've made with this tank. Very accurate, hard-hitting gun, terrible dispersion, lots of armor, and crummy mobility. Does it work? Does it work? Well, I'm going to tell you, the answer is sort of. And it depends. Because if allowed to do its thing and not get pressured and get its rounds down range, and when I say get its rounds down range, I mean it needs time to do so, because you're looking at, with the way I have it set up, 14.38 seconds. That's long. That is a long time. If it's allowed to do that, then you can have some pretty good games. But if you get pressured, or the game goes too fast, or it moves too fast and you can't keep up, you can find yourself struggling to get the damage down range. The good news on it is that it has the accuracy and the pen for days to make that happen. Absolutely. All right, let's take a quick look at my stats on it. So we'll just go ahead and jump in here. I've played 20 battles for you guys. We'll take a look at about 3 or 4 of those. 20 battles, 65% win rate. I went 9-1 in my first 10, and then I went, I think, 3-7 or so in the last 10. So it really was feast or famine. Maybe it was 4 and 6, I guess. Math in public, it was one of those things. Ended up with 65% win rate, low sample size, battles survived. This thing has a lot of durability for a medium tank and a lot of armor. Also notice I'm at 0.75 armor use efficiency. Holy macaroni. That's pretty amazing for a medium tank. We'll see how that holds up. I think it's going to be higher than 50, but I don't know if it'll stay at 0.75. 2.2 destruction ratio, which is pretty good. Damage ratio, decent at 1.45, but a little low. The hits percentage was pretty high, and I changed up a little bit what I was doing, and it started to go a little bit lower. And when it was 80%, I was thinking, okay, that's actually going to be doable. But when you start talking about 75% hit rate with as low a DPM as it has at, well, you can't see that, but it was about 1700 the way I have it set up. That becomes kind of difficult to affect battles. So it's a weird thing with this tank. I tended to stick around in battles, 50% survival rate, good armor use efficiency, but I also had a hard time doing a lot of damage. So I was important to wins with a 65% win rate, but it wasn't because I was dropping tons of damage. It's because I was still just hanging around. Some of this tank's capability is influencing the fight by its presence, by its sheer presence alone, with the big stick and the ability to stick around with the armor. And that is not necessarily, that is not a capability in this game that makes a tank great. It can make it good, and it can make it fun and interesting, but it doesn't make it great. It can give you good win rates, but you're not going to go out there and drop 3,000-4,000 damage consistently with this tank. It's going to be very difficult to do so unless you're very, very good. Mine was at 1,609 per game. That's low for my tier rates. On the low end, not terrible. T-34-3 is at 1802. Granted, that is a pref. If we go up here to a more reasonable tank, my 40T is at 18. My rev is at 17. So you get the picture in here that, let's see, Centurion 1, 17, 4202. Roughly it's at the same at 1602. You know, Chimera up at 2188. That's a very good tank. And where'd this guy go? Where'd the tank go? There it is. All right. So DPM does suffer a bit by being low. The actual effective DPM that I was able to get in 20 battles did suffer a bit because the base DPM was relatively low on the tank. I'm not a big believer in just the straight DPM stat being an issue or being the thing you look at and key in on. It's effective DPM. It's how many of those shots you can get on target, how many of those shots you can pin, how much damage you can do with the pins in there. It's the effective DPM based on the way the game is played, based on the way that tank can be played on the various maps. I think this one is right at that critical edge. It's very close to it. I don't think it's over it, but I think it's very close to that critical edge where its DPM is so low that it is a major factor. I still think, though, you can get some pretty effective DPM, and I may be playing this thing just a little bit too aggressively, which is getting me killed a little earlier than I want, which is probably affecting that one extra shot. Think about this on this tank. You get one extra shot out of this, you're at 2,000 because of the 400. It doesn't exactly work that way because it's averages and all that stuff, but you get the general picture. If you just think of it that way, if Guido was able to get one extra shot a game out of this tank and pen and get some damage, 300 or 400 extra damage probably, because you got to count on some of the kill shots that aren't for total damage, stuff like that. So it's an interesting tank, it really is. Spotted 0.75 is relatively high, destroyed 1.1. All right. Let's I'm just going to dive into the comparison. We're not going to go deep into this. I already did that on the other video, but I wanted to show you the 274 Alpha because the compare and contrast, and really it's keying in on the DPM. You're talking about the 274 Alpha, which has just come out recently, and it's sitting at 2225. This is a base number without any equipment, without any crew skills. It's just 100% crew and no buffs, all right? But the 122 TM is sitting down there at 1,430. That is a huge, I mean, it's almost 1,000, it's 800 difference in DPM. And that's a lot. And this tank kind of does more or less everything the 122 does with the good turret, the decent hull armor, albeit a bit less, and the mobility. What I want to talk about the mobility real quick, and then we'll move on from this, is that 50, you're never going to see 50 unless you're going downhill. It doesn't do 50 on a straight line. You'll be lucky to get to 40. Lucky. It is a sluggish tank, and we'll take a look at that in the games. How do I have mine set up real quick before we get to the games and the gameplay? We are sitting with vents, we've got a rotation device, and we've got a rammer. I've seen other people use the IRM, the aiming device, I guess, what it improved aiming, the little, I don't know what it is, little aiming thing. I did not use food, and I did not use a directive. With food and a directive, you can crank up the DPM into the high 1700s with food and a directive. So that I did not try hard mode. You will get, obviously, if you're going to run food on something, you're going to get more performance out of it. That is something I may try a little while later just to see what happens with it, see if it improves it just a bit. It can't help but do so. The only question there becomes, are you going to light on fire quite a bit? You can see the crew is decent. I have Cabbage in here, which has been cracking me up. And then I changed everybody to RNG because he's a Wargaming employee, so that seemed appropriate in there. Zoo-Way RNG Penetrail. All right, so the Penetrail brothers are in there with Cabbage with the funny voiceovers. I have been enjoying that. All right, let's take a look at gameplay with the 122 TM, and then I will wrap it up. This was my first game, and I was pretty excited to get this map, actually, because I do like this position up here with a heavily armored turret. Especially if you can get up top and start kind of stuffing these guys. And what I wanted to show you here is the depression's -8, so that helps you in positions like this. If you dab 2, you are talking 299 penetration, and you're going to do things like this and laugh. You see this mutant coming in thinking he's got all that armor. Dump. Just dropped 404. But now I'm chilling with the 14-second reload, right? I am defender level reload. In fact, I think the defender probably reloads faster than I do. In this case, probably has kind of more usable armor, and the mobility is not that far off from this thing. So very interesting, actually. Although I suppose this one probably has a better turret. Look, I'm still not there, guys. I'm still waiting. Here we go. Come on, baby. So we put a couple shots into this guy. Let's see if we can finish him. No, we'll go ahead and hit this dude. Oh, we get the bounce. Now that's heat on a highly angled piece of armor right there. It's going to have trouble. And we're just going to stuff these guys. And that's why I kind of like this position with a tank like this. And not too much arty. There's only one right there, and he's not bombing us right now, so everything's working out pretty nicely. Now the Emil has a lot of depression. Our defender's trying to go over there and deal with him. We really need to push into these guys and start taking them down. The bummer is there's a couple autoloaders in here, and we're going to go ahead and thump this guy, and we'll get hit by the Desante, who's got lots of depression too, and he's able to come up. Now we're exposing lower plate, so you're gonna get pinned on the lower plate, fellas. That's just going to happen. So he's looking for another shot. So I'm going to back out so I don't expose that lower plate. I want to shoot him in the face if I can. These guys are all kind of hurting, and all of a sudden the mutant makes another appearance over here. So we got 4 of them kind of stuffed into the back, onto the back edge of this hill, but they're now taking hits from artillery, taking hits from the guys down below, and this is a heat shot that's going to go nowhere into that turret. So we're backing out. Probably a case where I would be better off shooting the APCR. I wanted to say the APCR, my friends, is fast at 1,368 meters a second, so that is laser fast for this game. Makes it very accurate. If you're shooting on the run, it makes it easier for things like worrying about lead fire, because it's so much faster. You don't need as much lead fire. Shooting at weak spots while people are wiggling, the shell gets to the tank much faster. We'll go ahead and get thumped by that guy. Then the arty says hello, and then we take another kind of bad shot on a turret, just hoping we're going to get a pin, hoping against hope. Doesn't happen, and thank goodness the UDES gets in there and kills off the C-45. And then we'll move up here and start working on this guy. Look at that long reload. Now, medium-wise, you're going to have this kind of internal time clock while playing mediums you're going to be used to. They all shoot roughly 6, 7, 8 seconds, maybe are the long ones. This one's going to throw you off because it's more heavy timeline on the reload, and it can kind of be kind of a bummer trying to time. A lot of times I found myself, I'd take a shot and I'd be rocking back and forth going, all right, when's my next shot? And just like, my God, when is my next shot? And when you're planning on a medium tank timeline, it can throw you off. Last thing I want to show on this particular match is, here's the downhill speed where I'm actually hitting 50. That's the only way you're ever going to hit 50. And it just takes a long time to get over here to the rest of the battle. So when you start to win a flank with this tank, and you are now in the driver's seat on a match, and you're attempting to get to the other hit points, this thing struggles a bit. And that is where you can really pump up your DPM on wins like this. If you can keep your tank shooting, keep it in the game. I'm going back because I was a little bit worried about this flank. I might have got more hit points by just pushing into the backfield, but either way I went, it's a pretty slow tank. And I just found in a lot of the matches, it just was really hard for me to get to those last hit points and try to gobble up that last shot or two. Remember when I talked about in the garage, getting that one last shot or one extra shot to bring it up to a 2,000 DPM? This is why it is so hard and painful in this tank to do so, because it's just kind of slow. You know, you're not able to run around, and I thought I was going to get this shot. I was waiting for the aim, and then he got into the behind the rock. We're at 2,118. I'm not going to watch the rest of this because I just can't get there. This guy dies, then I start moving for the other guys. They're kind of down here hanging out. I actually got almost up the hill, but they all died to the faster tanks before I could get there. All right, let's look at the next example. So I played this tank pretty aggressively, like I played most of the tanks, and because it had the armor, I wanted to see what the turret could do, how badly the DPM or the reload really turned out to be in an actual game setting. Could I use the gun to good effect to basically make my effective DPM useful in a game? So here we are on Mannerheim line. The other thing I wanted to show here was, when you dab 2 and you've got that 299 pin, there's a lot of armored tanks that you don't worry about too much, and you're just gonna lull pin those guys. So I'm gonna come in here. This is an auto reloader. I really don't want to get caught out by that guy and let him pump 3 shells into me. The good news is, before this started, I said, hey, let's get down here, and I actually switched it to heat on this. Let's get down here and try to get in these guys' faces. So at least the IS-2 came and supported me, which I appreciated. There's heat.
Wow, that armor is thick.
You get an angle like that, heat's not going to go into it. Probably the APCR would have struggled with that one as well. It was nicely angled hit on his part. And we're going to get some already and such in here. But look at that long reload. I'm just, come on, man. Can I get back into this fight at some point? Now we're just waiting for that one nice shot. Like this auto reloader locking down the corner, it's just one of those things you have to deal with in this game with the damn auto loaders and auto reloaders. You got guys with 3 shells who are just willing to sit there, and it's very difficult to push in and take these guys on, especially when they've got support like that guy does. In fact, there's a Progetto there as well, so we got 2 frickin' auto loaders hanging out right there. Pushing in and attempting to do anything right now just isn't going to work out. So we're doing the rock-a-lama ding-dang here. Down goes the Progetto because he's a nice, softly armored guy. That dude shoots. I'm just going to try to get inside his reload a bit. There we go.
That one in.
Or his shell, intra-shell, whatever the hell they call it. Sneak a shot in before he gets that thing ready because he's got a good 3 seconds between shells. And that Caro is just sitting back there. So another shot onto him. And this takes a little while to kind of figure out. There's a turtle up above. 2 guys down below. There's a tortoise in the back. And the IKB being aggressive, which cracked me up. Good on him. Pretty soon here, the IS-2 is side scraping. He ends up getting kind of beat up by the artillery. Fortunately, I haven't been hit by it too much. And here comes the turtle. So I see the turtle doing his thing. I'm thinking, how are we going to break this open? The IKB gets super aggressive, actually gets a chunk of that guy. And pretty soon I'm going to say, you know what, all right, we have to settle one of these. We have to settle one of these flanks. I finally get in there and actually get HE by the Caro of all things. And that's not quite a one-shot. So I have a 400 Alpha gun, but 439 plus the Caro doesn't look like it's going to work out pretty well. There's that long reload, and we still have the turtle up above. So like I was saying earlier, pretty soon I'm going to figure I need to, let's go change this fight a little bit. This flank, I'm going to have a hard time with. What I'm really worried about is that tortoise finally getting a brain and coming down low and starting to clean us up with the bully mechanic of that thing. So I say, you know what, whatever, let's go use the old heat 299 pin. We're just going to come up here. I could also go HE against this turtle, but I'm just going to grab a little chunk of this turtle's front armor and we'll just boom.
Another one.
299 pin on a tier 8 medium is insane. And you've got that 400 alpha, which now I didn't need 400 alpha on that guy, but that increases the range of one-shots to you by quite a bit. Actually bounced this guy by bad aim. It was a terrible aim. I should have gone for his lower plate. Once again, I bounce off a highly angled tank I shouldn't have because I'm spamming heat. That's the thing about heat, guys. You got to be careful with that. It is a great capability if used right, but if used wrong, like you saw me use it a couple times. Now he's flat plating it because he's backing up. If used wrong, it can be a big problem. So this Progetto wants to get inside. This irritates me. It's one of the most irritating things in this game. Is when you're working a corner and somebody wants to jam inside of you, that is complete BS. Lower plate right through the tortoise, no problem. We'll just back out of that guy. What I should have done is once he fired is go by him, I'd finally get a brain here. The thing reloads really quickly, so I'm going to eat another shot from him. And look, all right, I want you to pay attention to how damn slow this thing is, right? This is a medium move that is one of the skill sets of a medium player. You get somebody to fire and you go by them, and now you flank them and you take them down. But this thing just takes forever to do that. The tortoise gets his 400 alpha on me, and I finally get around beside him.
Don't get cocky.
Once again, just to show you the painfulness of the mobility, I'm thinking I'm going to go up above, and I go, you know what? That's some trouble back in the backfield. It looks handled, but I'd much rather be back there attempting to handle it than to, you know, allow the red team to sneak a cap win because I mindlessly went towards the cap. So we'll just head back this way, and it's just uphill, my friends, uphill on this thing. You just want to gouge your eyes out. What am I doing? 16. So we'll do that. We'll come up top, and they start to die pretty quickly. But this references the discussion on the last replay where I was talking about, you know, with a medium or fast tank, you leave the flank you won, you go to the other one, and you gobble up some hit points so you can add to the tally. I'm at 1920. Another medium would be 5, 6, 7 tank lengths ahead of me. And I'm just driving in here trying to find, come on, can I get to a shot? Ooh, maybe I'll get the Charfuture. I missed actually that it was right there for quite a bit. There we go. So we'll just go ahead and shoot him. I have no idea where that shot went. It did not go into the char though. Pretty accurate gun. I'm thinking, ooh,
Ready to fire.
another
Where'd they
example.
go?
You know, most mediums would have reloaded well before that. When I came over, could have shot. The timing was just completely off. I'm looking at the reload going, when in this century am I going to get another shot? So the timing thing is, I don't think you can...
Your assistance has been requested.
My assistance has been requested. You can't make too little of it, I think. It is definitely weird driving a medium with this long of a reload, trying to figure out how to work it in and get that effective DPM. This T-49 does a nice job. He's actually in that bush. He's going to take a few hit points off me at the end. He knows the game is about over. He doesn't want to die, so he's going to shoot me right there. Boom. And I don't get the shot on him. Bummer.
Our fuel tank's hit.
311. I don't even... Did he even hit me? I guess he did. I thought he actually missed, but nails me for 311. All right, one more example. I was pretty excited when I loaded into this game. I'm top tier. I've got some tier 7s to bully with this thing. And I don't know what my team's doing. They're kind of all over the place here. I'll get a shot on this guy. There we go.
That penned.
Decent start. Back out, but the enemy's taking the hill. Big time. I don't know what the FV and the Tiger P are doing. Maybe they haven't even loaded in. There's the artillery spanking me. I mean, this whole game went kind of south. The reason I'm showing this is two. Number one is it's my highest damage game
next time.
in a loss. Number two is it shows the amount of damage this thing can do if allowed to hang around. So we're gonna crank out 3,000 plus on this, but it's only because the enemy team will let me, basically. And that kind of happens a lot. There's that armor doing its thing, T-34-3, bouncing off the angled front there, or maybe the turret. He's trying to sneak up the hill if he can. T-71 CMD. I actually had a shot on that guy much earlier. I didn't notice this. I kind of do this, and then I notice, ooh, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got a highlight on that guy, and he's not paying attention. So let's go ahead and try to get this shot on. There we go.
Converted
Take him down.
scrap metal.
And my team is kind of melted. Guys have died in all kinds of places. We're locked up against the side of this hill. There's a Tiger P that's gone wide, or will do so here in a minute. Unfortunately, we got 4 tanks here. The whole thing on this was just really a weird situation, but it does allow me to hang out and get some more damage than I wouldn't necessarily be able to do. Also, this AT-15 with his armor is going to regret dealing with me. Try to hit him. We do so. He breaks the gun. That's that nice turret armor. He's going to have a hard time with that. And I'm worried about this AT-15A because if he's able to come over and just start blapping me, could auto-lock me down. Watch this. We'll just go, hey, how's that nice thick armor in front of that? Not so much when you're dropping 299 pen on the poor AT-15A and just buttering that armor. Got multiple guys here. Work on the 15A again. He's backing out going, oh my gosh, don't do this again. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it again. They're just letting me do it, right? Let's just take a look at this here. All they really have to do is push us. If all these guys came out of their hole, although they're all down to one shots, and this is a pretty heavy, pretty well hit pointed, or pretty, what am I trying to say? I don't know. Healthy is the word. Tiger 2 here, and they've got a lot of one shots. But really, they're just going to kind of allow us to do this, and they're going to start picking off our buddies. I want to try to get in here and get rid of this guy if I can. There we go. Nice accuracy on that gun.
Don't get cocky.
I was actually thinking we might be able to get a comeback going here. There's another bounce off that nice turret. But I was really indecisive in trying to figure out how I wanted to go in here and get these guys. We needed to push these two and get rid of them. And just accept that the Tiger P is going to hit us a couple times. I think if both me and the Tiger 2 had gone in here and taken these guys down, it would have been over pretty quickly. I'm going to try to get in here and hit this M4. Now the Tiger P is looking for side shots. Oh boy, it's not really great. Thump him, down he goes. Alright, so we get the old 1-2. And then I back into the 45 TP's shot. And this was our opportunity just to push the 45 TP, ignore the Tiger P for a minute, and get rid of him. But unfortunately, the Tiger 2 goes in, and I get sort of distracted with this guy. And then I miss, which sucked. And here he comes. I needed to stop shooting the heat. There's so much little rock walls and piles of wood and fences and crap that just takes your heat out of the game. This guy's doing a pretty nice job of living. So huge mistake, but still they're kind of letting us hang out. And this battle's gone on for a bit now. Shot into the Tiger too. Trying to figure out how to get rid of him. I'm like, all right, good, let's do that. Oh, well, that was a heat round, I believe, and it probably got eaten by some of the debris in the way. So huge mistake on my part on shot selection as far as the type of round. The Tiger P is slowly backing away, and because of the slow reload, I'm not able to take advantage of him being out in the open. Oh, that was a bummer. That was a bummer. I don't know if I actually hit him or bounced or what happened right there. There's a shot finally into that guy. And like I said, I needed to pick a direction. Oh, here comes the Barask.
One of our
Hitting the side by the Tiger P. I'm just in huge trouble. And like I said, my inability to prioritize getting through that 45 TP. If we'd have pushed him and got rid of him, that would have changed this fight quite a bit. The only problem with that is the M12 potentially hitting me. I finally decide I need to go after the Barask here and take another hit in the back. I actually get a bounce off that. Probably hit the turret. And I just screw up with this, man. Terrible. I hit him.
That one in. We're immobilized.
I hit him for 370. Pretty significant low roll, but I was going to need a nice high roll to kill him off. So that the potential there was to kill him off, get spun around, but more than likely lose anyways. 3,759, 3,250 damage block. So again, showing this because if allowed to do its thing without getting pressured, these are the kind of beastly games you can get out of it. Of course, it was top tier. The other team really didn't press me. I don't know why there wasn't somebody up on the hill. Why the Barask wasn't coming over the edge of the hill here and shooting us in the back, I will never know. I mean, he was messing around with the others for a while, but, you know, like I said, no idea. Why the CS-44 wasn't shooting us, I couldn't tell you. Where's the Su-130 PM? Never seen. Probably still camping in a bush. So he could have been up here crushing the life out of us. It's one of those things. I appreciate them allowing me to have 3,759 damage in there, but I never should have got it. I just wanted to show you guys that because that is the kind of thing, if allowed, that this tank can do. But it's really difficult, in my opinion, to get to that point with this tank. All right, guys, what's the bottom line with the 122 TM? It's a very unique tank. I'm going to say it is average to slightly above average, with the possibility to be well below average situationally. And it does have some unique capabilities that if you're able to leverage them, it can be quite a beast. And I know that's an all over the place kind of analysis, but that really is the bottom line. Most people are going to find this a fairly average to slightly below average at times tank. A decent to good player is going to find it average to slightly above average. And I think its highs and lows are also extreme. You know, if you're able to leverage its capability, it'll be a monster. But you're going to find long periods of games where you're just really not able to do the things you would be able to do with other medium tanks. And so maybe at the end of the day, it requires a bit of a change in mindset for me on what a medium tank is or how to use it. Is it really a heavy? Not really. It can get shredded when it gets up close. Does it have a lot of durability, though? Yeah, absolutely. I didn't talk a lot about the turret, but these are pretty big weak spots, and I did find myself getting them sniped a lot. All right? They're so obvious and big that you are going to get those sniped, especially if you're using hold-down positions where you're just showing your turret. And if you're any kind of close to people, you're going to see that gun hunting around and looking at your hatches, especially this left one, which is very much taller and more prominent than the one on the right there, at least facing this way, the right one in this case. The bouncing decisions are interesting to me from wargaming. You have a Chinese tank with a big gun, but usually that means they're derpy, and they usually have decent DPM. This one is not a derpy gun, so the balancing criteria here is to make it reload very slowly and have bad DPM. You look at that and go, ooh, the gun is amazing, but then it's gimped with the terrible DPM. And that's unusual. There's not a lot of tanks that have that. Usually the big alpha guns are fairly inaccurate. On TDs, you have some big alpha guns that you have that balancing decision of the long reload, but you don't see that too much on mediums, really. The T34-3 kind of has that with the 390, but it's a preferential, and it's very derpy, especially as compared to this thing. I think what I might do is drop some food on this thing in a directive and see if I can't improve some of these other things, especially the DPM, and see if that helps out. But I don't think the reload gets much lower than 13 or so and some change. So it's better than the 14.38 I have, but it's not, you know, getting like 10 or 11, which would be absolutely amazing on this gun. You're just not going to get that. It really does probably need a bit of a DPM buff, but then it's going to need a nerf a little bit on durability, because it just really is, for a medium, so able to hang around in battles with the armor that it has, and a little bit of careful angling and use of hold down positions. So there you go, guys. I mean, situationally, you're going to have a really good time in some games with this thing, and then you're going to have long stretches, I think, of just like, why can't I get this thing's gun into the game in any real useful manner? And you're just going to spend a lot of time sitting back, reloading, all that kind of goop. All right, man. You know, as I was sitting down to do the final word here, usually I don't have any problem coming up with exactly what I feel like the tank is. This one's weird, and I am going to reserve a little judgment on it, on this one. I think after 20 battles, I have a pretty good idea of most tanks. I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to brag on myself and say it. I feel like I'm right well more than I'm wrong, and I feel like I'm right more than most other creators on a lot of tanks. I don't know on this one. I really don't. We'll have to wait and see what the numbers are. Just give you an example. The 274 Alpha, people kind of called it average. That thing's a monster. It is. It's an absolute monster. It's a great premium tier 8 tank. This thing is sort of like it, but I think its negatives are more, and I just don't think it's going to be on the level of, say, a 274 Alpha. But I could be wrong. I have this like strange feeling in the back of my brain that people are going to figure out how to best leverage this thing's really good capabilities, the good parts of it, in ways that I haven't figured out right now. Maybe it's more of a TD thing. I don't know. So let me know down in the comments your thoughts on it, because this one's got me a little bit flummoxed. I'm not sure. It's a departure. And so because it has kind of these outsized capabilities and negatives attached to it, I'm not really sure where it's going to pan out to, or where it's going to drop or land in the pantheon of World of Tanks. So I think that's cool, actually, because it's unique. And maybe at the end of the day, that's the final word. This is a relatively balanced but very unique tank with some serious upsides and downsides. Maybe that's the best thing I can say about it. All right, guys, that's all I've got. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.